Hey guys, happy to see you again. So today we're going to take a look at the Tancred Dyke-Wells interview. So as you know, Battalion is one of our most active members on Twitter. He is often tweeting about Battalion Wars, and he managed to get in contact with Tancred Dyke-Wells, who was the creative director for Battalion Wars 1 and 2, so one of the most important developers of the games. So he actually produced a pretty long interview, so I'm not going to read everything in full because the interview is free for anyone to read as a PDF. I'm just going to give my thoughts about the most intriguing questions and answers. So first of all, I just want to mention that I had heard Tancred's name before. I mean, it's not a totally unknown name in the community, but yeah, it's cool to be able to hear what he has to say about Battalion Wars. Okay, so first of all, yeah, so this guy actually made or actually he directed Art Academy for Nintendo DS, which is pretty funny because it seems pretty far from Battalion Wars, but you know, as far as genre goes. But yeah, he is working on a game called Skeleton Crew nowadays. I saw that game on Steam. I never played it, or I think it's not even out yet. So yeah, he then goes on to explain how Battalion Wars was born. What's pretty interesting is that he references Reign of Fire. Reign of Fire is actually a name I have heard in the past. I know that it was a game, a kinda silly game where you had to fight dragons with tanks or stuff like that. And most importantly, it was made using the same engine as Battalion Wars. And yeah, so they first made Reign of Fire, and then they made a demo for their next game, which would end up being Battalion Wars in the future. And what is funny is, like, he says that for this first demo concept, they had dragon 3D models instead of soldiers, so you had dragons running around everywhere. And it's really too bad, it's really a shame that we do not have any footage of this demo, because I think it would have been pretty funny to see dragons running at ground level, like the little grunts of Battalion Wars. Anyway, of course he explains that Battalion Wars was originally called Versus. I think this is pretty well known nowadays. Any Battalion Wars fan knows that Battalion Wars was actually Versus in the beginning. It was meant to be a multiplayer PS2 game, but then Nintendo basically partnered with Kyuju, and Kyuju then changed the name to Advance Wars Under Fire, and then again the name changed and became Battalion Wars afterwards. So yeah, pretty interesting. And what's most interesting is that we actually have a pretty nice picture, poster, box art, or official art or whatever of Versus. I don't think it would have worked very well as box art, but it's still a pretty fun piece of art, and we can clearly see the prototypical Western Frontier soldier here, and prototypical Exilvanian soldiers here. At the very beginning, Versus was supposed to be some kind of humans versus undead soldiers kind of universe. It's pretty interesting because the Western Frontier never changed much, I think. It was always meant to be human soldiers using tanks and helicopters and stuff, but the enemy has changed a lot. And if you take a look at these concept arts for the original version of Versus, it was wild. It has nothing to do with Battalion Wars as we know it today. I really wonder how it would have worked. I don't think it was meant to be kind of symmetrical in nature. Maybe this is supposed to be a tank, but it has legs and it seems a lot bigger than a Battalion Wars tank. So, it would have been very different, both in aesthetics and in gameplay, I guess. Yeah, so I just want to mention that Tancred says that Anglo units were inspired by copper kitters. I don't really know what a copper kitters is, but I guess this is meant to be what is in that picture on the right. And honestly, I had never noticed that Anglo units were meant to be copper kitters. You can clearly see that they have some British inspired references. Their tanks are trains and stuff like that, but copper kitters, nope, never noticed actually. Yeah, so then Tancred says that his favorite nation is Exilvania, which is not that surprising because Exilvania is one of the most aesthetically complete nation in the game. They work very well as enemies. They have cartoony designs, but you kinda feel like it would work in real life. Really one of the best designed nation in the game. So it's not that surprising that he would say that his favorite nation is Exilvania. And Kaiser Vlad, we got some pretty good concept art for Kaiser Vlad. And some of these are not very wild, but still pretty interesting. I think they made the right choice in the end. Man, I wish we had the 3D models for the character. It would be a lot easier to make animations and stuff. Then he goes on to say that his favorite mission is Titans of Tundra, which I completely understand. It's not my personal favorite mission, but it's still a very good mission. It is very open. This mission allows you to tackle your objectives any way you want. You are given a lot of freedom in this mission, and it's too bad that more missions, especially in Battalion Wars 2, do not give you that much freedom, because the Battalion Wars engine is perfect for that kind of sandbox mission where you start somewhere and then you have to go to your objectives and do them any way you like, and that's what's very fun about Battalion Wars. And he says, I wish we'd make more level like this, to be honest. And I wish that too, especially in Battalion Wars 2, where most levels are very linear, and the strengths of the Battalion Wars gameplay are not completely realized in Battalion Wars 2, I feel. So, pretty good answer from the dev. What's your favorite mission? It's Titans of Tundra. I can see it. It makes total sense. What doesn't make sense is that so many missions in Battalion Wars 2 do not have the same open gameplay as Titans of Tundra, but I guess that's also Nintendo's fault, since Nintendo likes things to be very linear and very easy to understand. But anyway, page 11, we have a question about Empress Leiko. I find it to be a weird question because, of course, Empress Leiko can use magic, but it's not that important. It's a weird question because it's not really lore breaking or anything. The Iron Legion and the Crater of the Suns and stuff. There are so many wild stuff in Battalion Wars. Empress Leiko using magic to basically bring back some teacups, not really that important. I don't know if that warranted the whole question, but pretty funny all the same. So as you know, I'm a big fan of the Battalion Wars music. I've made a lot of orchestral remixes and stuff. I have contacted in the past Justin Charvona, one of the composers for the game. He told me that for Battalion War the 1 and 2, the snare drums used in the music that you can hear in the music was actually recorded live by him. On everything else was of course computer made, but yeah, pretty fun. And Tancred here says that the music was inspired in part by Battlefield 1942. And yeah, I mean, the main theme of Battlefield 1942 is quite reminiscent of the Battalion Wars theme, so that's not really surprising to me. On both Battlefield 1942 and Battalion Wars have pretty great soundtrack, so yeah. He says that the mission select theme is his favorite track in the game, and yeah, again, I can totally understand that. It may be, I mean, it is definitely one of my favorite tracks too. It is exactly what he says it is. It is slightly mournful and wistful. Yeah, I mean, each time I hear the mission select theme of Battalion Wars, you know, I get all mushy and melancholic and stuff. So yeah, Tancred is asked, as the years passed after the release of Battalion Wars 2 in 2007, are you surprised that there is an entire community alive for this series in 2022? And of course he says, yes, it's extraordinary, it feels like such a privilege, and yes, there is a community, it is still alive, it is somewhat endangered, you know, it's not like the Advance Wars community, which is not endangered. It's a small community, but you can see that there is a lot of people and there is a lot of content that is produced for Advance Wars. For Battalion Wars, though, the Discord is not, I mean, it is big, but the active members are not that many. There are not that many people making content for the game. I mean, when all is said and done, there is less than 10 people making regularly content for the game. So yeah, sure, there is a community, and I hope it will last. I don't know how much longer it will last, but yeah. But sure, it still exists, and I'm sure that for the devs it's very important, and it must be extraordinary to think that people are still playing your games even after 15 years or so. So on question 20, it's pretty interesting because we have some insight about what Battalion Wars 3 could have been. So there was a proposal for Battalion Wars 3, actually, for Wii U. Actually, Fez already gave his thoughts on this particular question. And I quite agree with Fez. The Wii U tablet was not the most ergonomical controller, and having to switch between your TV screen and your Wii U tablet was pretty annoying for most games, and for Battalion Wars, yeah, not sure it would have worked very well. But yeah. But anyway, of course, I would have preferred for it to exist, but it is what it is. Okay, then we have the second part of the interview. Most questions here are more anecdotal, but the first question is pretty interesting. Maybe I was the one who asked it, I don't remember. It's about the level editor of the game that they used to make the game. He says, originally we just had to place icons for scenery entities on a top-down 2D map, which is pretty fun because it's a bit like what we have today. The level editor that Yoshi2 made is 2D, and it is a top-down 2D map, and you place icons on the map. They are not really icons, but little squares, little colored squares, but it works just as well. Yeah, pretty interesting that they didn't really have any 3D editors. Of course, Tancred goes on to say that they have live editing tools later on in development, so they could place objects with a little more accuracy. but still pretty interesting insights on what the 2D level editor was like during development of the game. Yeah, a question about Brigadier Betty. As you know, Brigadier Betty's character design changed a lot between Battalion Wars 1 and Battalion Wars 2, which is, I think, personally, which is for the worst, because I really liked Brigadier Betty in Battalion Wars 1. And he says, the Western frontier were conceived of treating war as being like a sport, as you see in the opening cutscene where Herman is sending up grunts against football training dummies. Herman is the coach and Betty the cheerleader, but it seemed a bit demeaning to depict her with that archetype. So we leaned more into making her a soldier for the second version. And I'm like, yeah, I think it's even more demeaning to have her designed like she was in Battalion Wars 2, because she's almost sexualized, you could say, in Battalion Wars 2. She has a midriff and stuff. And you know, I don't know, I feel like she's very generic in Battalion Wars 2. She's not very interesting. She doesn't feel dynamic. She doesn't feel motivated. Her voice actress, you know, you feel less energy when she speaks than with Brigadier Betty from Battalion Wars 1, which was a lot more energetic and genki, you know. She was like, yeah, let's go beat the Exilvanians. And her design was a lot more, it was simpler, but it worked better in my personal opinion. Yeah, on question 18, we have pretty interesting insights of what grunts could do at the beginning. They could actually carry grenades, which is pretty funny to me, because it would have completely thrown balance out of the window, I guess. If any grunts can carry grenades at tanks, that means you don't even need bazooka vets anymore. If you only have 5 grunts, maybe you can take out a light tank pretty easily. I mean, pretty funny to me. I think they did well to simplify the gameplay and just make grunt absolute cannon fodder, because it would have been pretty dangerous for the balance of the game, I guess. Anyway, then we have Fun Battalion's message. You'll read all that for yourselves, guys. And then we have a lot of pictures, so we have already seen that one. Some pretty interesting concept art for Versus. Yeah, pretty funny how enemies have changed. I really think Battalion Wars would have been a lot wilder with his designs, a lot less appealing to me personally, but still pretty good. I mean, this plane with the claws holding on to bombs, oh my god, this is such a good design. On this robot thingy, I mean, it could have been a great grunt for a mechanical faction or something like that. Although Tancred said that enemies weren't separated into separate factions at the time, there were just humans, so Western Frontier, and enemies, undead soldiers. But yeah, pretty wild and pretty different from what we got in the end. And then you have the humans units. The human units were a bit like what we got with the Western Frontier. It changed, but not that much, but still quite a lot. I mean, you can clearly see the prototypical Frontier units, but at the same time, they were a lot more unrealistic, I want to say. What we got in the end was pretty much toy soldiers, but kinda grounded in reality, whereas these are pretty wild. I mean, I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's supposed to be a tank destroyer. It looks like a tank destroyer from World War II, but with modern anti-air weaponry on top. Pretty, yeah, pretty interesting. I don't know what it would have been for used for gameplay-wise. I mean, I don't know what the role of this vehicle would have been. I mean, would it have been anti-air or anti-tank or both maybe? I don't know. So this is an IPC, although it indeed looks like a recon. Then we have some more concept art. Concept art for the grants. Again, all these pictures are available in higher resolution, but yeah, pretty funny. Of course, this is a Exilvanian light tank as we know it today. As you can see, the concept never really changed. It was always meant to look like that. And of course, some more units. So this is the final version of the units, or at least it looks like the final version. So that's very interesting because we had very cartoony, less cartoony, cartoony but still realistic. So of course what we got was closer to the middle picture. Yeah, that was a pretty good choice, Emo, in my opinion. Yes, some more. I like the Exilvanian vets. They're pretty funny. They're pretty scary too. On some of these pictures we have already seen. I remember seeing basically all of these before. So yeah, they were pretty cartoony, a lot more than what we got in the final game. And some more vehicle design. And that's it. So yeah, pretty long interview, full of interesting trivia and details. Fun Battalion really made a good job with this interview on this PDF, and I really suggest you go look at the PDF to read everything I've not commented, because there is a lot of stuff that will appeal to some people, but that I have not talked about because it did not necessarily intrigue me enough. But there is something for everything in there. If you are a fan of Battalion Wars and you're wondering how the game was made and stuff like that, definitely check the interview. It's really fascinating insights on the development of the game. Tancred seems like a pretty cool guy. It was very cool from him to answer Fan Battalion's questions. So yeah, definitely check that out. And with that, guys, I'm going to say goodbye, and that's it really. So, ciao!